In this two-part series, I want to share what I've learned about procrastination and how to apply them to a few different examples to see if we can learn how procrastination is affecting our lives. This first video, however, is an introduction so we can build our foundation from here and see how we could also apply science or neuroscience, including the Bible, in our final equation. My disclaimer is I am not a psychologist, doctor, nor neuroscientist. Information obtained is compiled by yours truly, Lemoy Decina, founder of the Kool Spot, and is for research purposes only. And to start a conversation, please consult with a specialist for immediate attention. Let's get into this.
Login accepted.
Procrastination is a much needed conversation because most people only believe that they're just lazy. But in all reality, we're only responding to some type of trauma that took place in our lives that will eventually lead to depression. So, in a nutshell, procrastination is a level of depression. And the more out of control it gets, the harder it is to focus. It's like a hypnotic rhythm that can trap you for a lifetime. So the question is, where do we rate ourselves on that depression scale? I don't know, but maybe this will help. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is traditionally known as a disorder that military veterans are scarred with after leaving or retiring from the military. Although this is true in most cases with adults and young adults, the question stands, what about adolescents that suffers from traumatic experiences? Can they also suffer from PTSD? Well, the answer is yes, actually. It's called childhood post-traumatic stress disorder. CPTSD is a disorder in which a person has difficulty recovering after experiencing or witnessing a terrifying event. The condition may last months or years, with triggers that can bring back memories of the trauma accompanied by intense emotional and physical reactions. This typically leads to hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is the elevated state of constantly assessing potential threats around you and is often the result of a trauma. People who have been in combat have survived abuse or have post traumatic stress disorders. They could also exhibit hypervigilance. What are the effects? Well, we have these fixation on potential threats from dangerous people, animals, or situations, an increased startle reflex, more likely to jump or be jarred by sudden sounds. Dilated pupils is also the last one. Latent vulnerability is the next phase. This theory says that childhood trauma can lead to mental health problems later in life. The word latent refers to something that exists but is not yet obvious, while the word vulnerability means more likely to be harmed. So, latent vulnerability means that a child is at greater risk of harm than may be immediately obvious to carers or professionals. This has been a reflection of those that have been molested as a child, physically or mentally abused, those who lack emotional support, and or someone who has gone through a paralyzing experience and has never recovered. Most of these cases are stemmed from families keeping things swept under the rug as if nothing is going on while completely ignoring the mental health of their child. What are the deeper effects, you may ask? Well, let's look at reduced social support, which is the abuse and neglect from childhood that leads to reduced social support over time, even into adulthood. Diminished social rewards, which is the developmental differences that carries latent vulnerability for the development of mental health concerns that happens later on. Here's the science. The brain has what's called the limbic system. The limbic system is what puts the body into fight or flight mode, acting as a response system for the most part. Within the limbic system, there's what's called the amygdala. The amygdala is what controls the emotion. So the more you suppress, the more the amygdala shrinks, meaning the amygdala is becoming more and more unhealthy. The older you get, the lower the emotional IQ, because you've gone years upon years going from one situation into another without ever having to deal with the unresolved issue. Now we wonder why we are attracted to toxic people in toxic situations. Why? Because it's all that we know at this point. Dealing with trauma at this point has become your norm. So life isn't the same without it. What happens after we're impacted by latent vulnerability? Here we run into what's called social thinning. Social thinning is a gradual erosion or reduction of social networks, friendship groups, and bonds with family members. Social thinning can also lead to reduced social support, losing or never developing social relationships, having poor quality relationships over time, fewer opportunities to learn, and less social support overall. Studies have shown that abuse and neglect in childhood can lead to reduced social support over time, even into adulthood. When thinking about other professionals and creatives like myself who suffers with procrastination, well, let me just summarize it in my conclusion. I gave you guys enough in this introduction video. Watch this. In conclusion, as an artist and professional, procrastination is a reflection of the many times I've had great ideas about things that didn't work out in the past. I put a lot of energy in the things that I'm interested in. So when something doesn't work out, like anybody else, it hurts. Then I would withdraw from social media or excommunicate myself from the general public because I don't feel like my work is appreciated or fully understood. Finally, I'd be taken back to what failed expectations from my youth or my past relationships felt like. And as I reflect on the traumas of being scolded for my incapable abilities, I will submit to the idea of letting the project go and focusing on something less important. Ultimately, I would rather become a hoarder of what I'm learning instead of sharing to help someone else in their journey. I once heard someone say this about procrastination: being stuck in learning is a smart person's reason to procrastinate. That's a bar. I'll say it again. Being stuck in learning is a smart person's reason to procrastinate. So give yourself some credit and build a value system you can gauge your life by. Trust me, we've all had to start at the bottom. Just don't be afraid to fail and keep going. In my closing, I'm going to give you guys a scripture and I'm out. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. Proverbs 17:22. I pray this helps someone, or for what it's worth, at least create dialogue amongst our community so that we can all become better individuals. That's my time. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with 3 people you may know that this may help. I'd appreciate that, truly. It's yours truly, Lamore Decina, aka Mr. Kool Spot. Peace.